Hello, hope all is well. So figured we'd shoot another of these videos on my setup as it was one of the questions that came up recently. So I thought I'd start with the room as it usually is, and normally this light is off. So in my usual state, this is what it looks like, but let's turn on some lights and basically do my YouTube setup. So I've got lights back on, looks pretty horrible, but basically at this point, I have a few lights that I turn on in the back, and it's this really cool ambit full A1s. And so this gives this nice kind of blue hue on the poster and on the background here. And then I have another one that I use on the floor to give a bit of like background light as well. Something I picked up recently was this small desk light. It's USB. Practical light was the word I was looking for, which I used to light up that side of the room. And then something I picked up recently, thanks again Kai, are these two nan lights, which are on these two stands, and we'll turn those on and they give off this really nice kind of red hue. So here they are. At the moment, I just use them set together to give off a red kind of light that goes off in two directions. Because one could be enough if I just turn up the brightness, but I like to have the option of having a second one which I can place somewhere else or even for other projects. And now for a key light, which I've started to look at using properly. I'm using one of these, which is a Relino light, which I will link in the comments below. And the way I've set this up is it's set to the same color temperature as some of the other lights that I'm using. And I actually place it might look a bit weird, but I place it on top, up here, perched in the corner, as you can see, and it's hitting up on the top over there. So obviously right now we have the room lights that are on, but I'll turn those off, seeing as I have some of the background lights and the practical lights on, and we'll see how that looks. So that's already pretty good. And now the main thing comes in with this new light that I got in recently. I'll link to a video as well, which is this rather lovely GVM SD200B. And then we get this light up front, which is basically my key light, which will be on my face and on the chair that you can see over here. And so all the lights are set up, and the last thing I've got to add now, or at least put into place, is my mic that I'm using, which is an SE8 microphone that I'm using. It's a small diaphragm condenser mic, and it's on this stand that's just perched on my desk. There's probably a better way of doing this with either something that I can attach to the desk, but as you can see, I've got this extra bit of wood that's attached onto the desk itself, so there's a lot more thickness and it's a bit more difficult to find an appropriate stand that fits in the back. And given there's a windowsill there, it kind of limits my options. So I had this microphone stand, and while it takes up a lot of space, I can live with that, if that makes sense, as I have a lot of real estate on the actual desk itself. And the way I placed it is that it's just out of shot. It's just above my head and it's pointing down as, say, a shotgun mic would do as well. The thing about using this instead of a shotgun mic was that this room is pretty small. As you can see, you know, the walls are relatively close. I've got windows behind there. I've got the cupboard there. And the thing with the shotgun mic I was using before, it was picking up a lot of like, not interference per se, but it was kind of getting like phase issues from time to time, because it was picking up a lot more of the room. And as the room kind of reverberates to some extent, I had to do a lot of post-processing to get the vocals in check, shall we say. But the biggest change here that I've done is adding some black cardboard on the sides here. I've got some very cheap acoustic treatment on the walls. They're not that effective, to be honest. The two panels at the back are. Those are from GIK Acoustics. And then this is what I've added recently, which are relatively cheap bass traps from Thomann that I've put in the corner there, and they're also below the table, and there's one in that corner over there, which you can't see. And that has made a huge difference to the sound of this room, along with the other acoustic treatment I have. And something that's been really useful for me has been this small stream deck. So it's the 6-button version. And you can set it up with all sorts of applications. As I use OBS, I'm using it with OBS, and that way I can set it up so I can quickly select between different scenes I've set up. So for example, the camera only, screen only, for example, I have a scene set up for the door plus the camera. And what's really cool is I can simply enable or disable the vocal microphone, or the microphone that we just saw that was recording my voice, depending on stuff that I'm doing. So for example, I can keep the cameras running, just turn off the mic and then play guitar, so you don't hear that annoying sound of strings per se through the vocal microphone. And then I can just turn it back on again when I'm back to speaking. And then all that's left to do, as all the lights are on, I'll close off the door, I'll add this last practical light at the back, and then we'll turn on the main camera, which is what I use to film most of my videos. So it'll be a bit of a fun inception moment because I'm screen recording the same time that I'm recording with the camera that's over there. So this is what my room looks like afterwards with all the lights set up. And as you can see, I'm using OBS to do all the recording, and I'm recording directly to the hard drive. So my main camera is a Sony Zv-1, and that's connected using an Elgato Cam Link, I think it's the 4K, that's connected to my PC as well. And what I also use, which I've used for part of this video as well, has been my Pocket 3, the DJI Pocket 3, which is a really good portable handheld camera that also doubles as a 4K webcam, which is really cool. So that way I can have a second setup using the DJI that's just off shot over here, that I use as a secondary shot or a secondary angle, and it's particularly useful for when I'm playing guitar, for example. So you get a better view of me playing guitar per se. So one light that I did forget is the desktop light. For just talking, it's maybe not such a big deal, but it'll basically illuminate this kind of area, which is really useful for when you're playing guitar and sitting in front of the camera with a guitar. So now you see this part is much better illuminated. So now, thanks to OBS and the way it's set it up and Stream Deck, I can quickly switch, for example, between this view, which is the cam only. I have a view here, for example, when I set up my FM3 edit app that will appear there properly. And then I can also go to just the screen only, for example, and it all kind of switches seamlessly. Those are things that you won't actually see in the video itself, as those are things that I will edit after the fact, and you probably won't see those transitions. However, it really speeds things up when you're doing recording and setting things up. Now, one thing that I have to bear in mind, and you'll notice that the blue light behind me has just turned off because I didn't think of charging it up before today. So that light's now off, and I do have a lot of lights that are set with USB batteries, and it's particularly useful because they're really portable. However, it can mean that on certain shots, suddenly a light will just go out, as it did in this case. And so for video editing, I use Davinci Resolve. I use the paid version, the Studio 19, which is the latest version. And basically, you can get away with using the free version, which is really awesome that that's out there. But I'd really recommend upgrading to the paid version, as it has some really useful extra features, one of which that I'll show here. And it's also faster than the free version, but the free version is a good kind of gateway per se to trying the software out and to see if it suits your way of working. So I'll start a new project here, and it'll be a bit of an inception moment because we're going to be editing a shot that we saw earlier in the video. But just to give you an idea, I can basically choose the two tracks that I recorded, so screen recording and the actual video recording that I made before. And one of the really cool features about Davinci Resolve Studio, i.e. the paid version, I think this isn't in the free version, is the transcribe option. So what it does is it's going to transcribe the audio to text. So I'll do that here. I've got my main video selected where I just talked about it. You can also hear it. We'll hit transcribe. It will transcribe the audio. It takes a bit of time. And then this window pops up. And basically what this enables you to do is that you can edit the video based on the text that's there. So the thing with recording video and putting stuff together is that more often than not, at least in my case, I don't use scripts, so it's kind of off the cuff. I have to think about, okay, what I'm going to say, how I'm going to frame it, and this helps later on, especially in the editing process. So if you have a clearer idea of what you're going to say, how you're going to present things or talk about things, you'll have less work to do further down the line when you get to editing. And something like this makes it really quick and easy, because usually I'll just let the whole video record, and if I mess something up, I'll just stop real quick pause, and then say the same phrase again, or cut back a bit and say the whole sentence again and keep going. And this means that using something like this, I can quickly edit that out without any hassle at all. So here, for example, I can say for Davinci Resolve to take out all the parts where there's like blank space or when I'm not talking, just by clicking one button here. So there'll be no pauses between certain parts. That can be something that you want or don't want depending on what you've just shot and filmed. In this case, I'll use that. And then I can go through the text and the stuff that I've talked about, and then look at parts that maybe something that I might have said twice or didn't say correctly. And here, for example, is one part where I'm basically saying the same thing. And I know for me at least that my second take, when I realized, okay, no, I can say this better, is the right one to take. So I can simply select the part that I want to delete and then delete that. And that will be edited from the video before I even add it to the timeline to do further editing. And then I can go through the rest of the text and see, okay, are there parts that, I don't want to be in there? And then I can decide based on that, okay, that's something that I want to already take out ahead of time or not, and then continue editing the video. So I didn't do too badly here, so we can select all of this and then select to put it onto the timeline itself. The cool thing is it's done all those edits that we just did to the actual text itself. So it's cut off all the sorts of pauses that we had, and then it made some of the edits, and that's why the video file itself is all cut up here as well, which you could see. Now the thing is, of course, you can still go in and edit as per usual, so you can extend parts if maybe it cut off too much. But this already saves a lot of time in the editing process, because you don't have to do that yourself anymore, because all that kind of work of like playing back, listening again, saying, okay, does this work or not? You can just do it by quickly reading the text and realizing what you filmed and when or how to get rid of it. So that's basically it. So the room being what it is, through different lighting, I've managed to set it up to be, I guess, easier on the eye, and also setting up the camera so that it captures that vibe in the right way, per se. And I'll post links in the description to all the things that I'm using, as well as some extra details on, say, the camera, or the two cameras that I'm using, and maybe some of the settings that I'm using with the cameras as well. Now, the main thing for me here was that I wanted to set up that, I had a few things that I had to turn on, and then I could basically film without having to worry too much about setting certain things up. Obviously, the things I have to set up on top will be the lights. And as you can see, one of the lights ran out of battery, so it's changed the way things look behind me. But, that's just how things are. And given the amount of time I'm spending on top of given the time I'm spending on top of like a full-time job and doing other stuff to do this, I'll take that for what it is, as charging a USB light again will take a bit of time. So we'll just accept the fact that, hey, a light went off. Maybe I'll add drama to the shot as well. The main thing really is, or stuff that's really helped me, was to have the idea of like, okay, what do I want to film? What do I want to talk about? How do I want to talk about this guitar, this thing, this pedal, whatever it is? How do I want to present this and talk about it, and have an idea of how the video might be in terms of layout? And then through that, when you're filming, because you have a clearer idea of the edit process further down the line, you can then film stuff in such a way that, okay, I know I need to film these elements, put these things together, kind of like a storyboard, because afterwards I know how I will edit them and put them together and then put it online. So by doing this, you're not in this situation which I kind of had at the start where, you know, I'd be filming things and I'd have different ideas and I'd throw them all kind of together in either various video files that I'd have to then look at and edit or decide on if I'd keep or not. Basically what I can do is I can let the camera run, leave the mic on, and just talk, set things up, and then do the edit afterwards, knowing the sort of video that I want to make, which has saved me a lot of time in the process. So that's probably been the biggest evolution, I guess, for me after being on YouTube, shall we say, about a year, is having a clearer idea of how I'm filming stuff, how I'm setting things up, and how I will edit it afterwards. So if you have any questions about the different gear that I'm using or editing software and things like that, please leave a question in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you. And in any case, hope to see you in the next video. Take care.